Hey, it's Chris. News, upcoming games, hotness, crowdfunding. What do you need to know for this upcoming week and week past in review? And again, somehow surprisingly, even in this last week, but since I did the last news video, which was chock full, I'm leaving that in there for posterity's sake, for all you new people. I screw things up all the time, but I try my best, and that's why you love me. So subscribe! Help me get to 10K. Anyway, just tons of stuff, actually. Tons of stuff. And the other one that really I'm going to start the video off with today was something that just leaked out. I actually saw a Facebook ad for it, which prompted me to go, what the deuce? Which raises a second question to go along with this. CMON is launching a campaign this coming week. Did you know that? Like, it just came out of nowhere. The Facebook, Dead Keep. And the undead in a dungeon crawl, like 1 to 5, 1 to 6 player cooperative, almost looking sort of Trudvang-esque campaign style situation. And it's launching on Gamefound, right? We heard the whole CMON Gamefound partnership, blood handshake pact that they've got. And tongue in cheek, folks, if you can't make fun of it, what fun is this in the first place? Like myself, right? I make fun of all the stuff I screw up all the time, right? I'm the first one to do it. We just saw Song of Ice and Fire, the miniature war skirmish, sort of revamped version, end. And now, like literally a month or less later, we're seeing another campaign from CMON. Which begs the question, is that part of the reason they went over to Gamefound? Are we going to see like one a month from them? Because Kickstarter, put out those rules a couple years ago that they were like, hey, we're going to strong arm and say if you have more than 1 or 2 unfulfilled campaigns or 3, and then it turned into whatever, no one ever monitors it or cares because Kickstarter only cared about the cash, right? But now we're going into the territory of how many campaigns does that leave unfulfilled for CMON? Again, I'm not one of those sky is falling, pyramid scheme, conspiracy theory people that it's going to all, House of Cards it, whatever, right? But, when I did that Kickstarter backer kit Gamefound comparison at the beginning of the month, looking at all 3 of them and the fee differences, right? And I said something along the lines of just from the campaign alone, Song of Ice and Fire, it raised probably Gamefound $50,000 or $60,000, probably plus that if they get a bunch through the pledge manager as well. If you have that every month, as opposed to maybe like 4 times a year, right? That's 3 times the income right there. You do that, you can do that math. 50 grand a month, every month, 50 grand times 12, $600,000, folks. For a company as small as Gamefound is, again, overhead wise, that's just cash sitting in your pocket for hosting that. Again, I know it's more complicated than that, but you know what I'm saying there. So that, if that is going to be the trend of things, and I'm not going to say that it is, right? That would be a whole lot of overhead on CMON to have that many projects lined up that quickly, one after another. But it begs the question, what else are we going to see next? Because that one's actually already on BoardGameGeek. I was surprised to see it on BoardGameGeek, and there's nothing on the Gamefound page at the time of me filming this, like some artwork. That's pretty much it. So I guarantee there will be a rule book on day one. They've been really good about that, but they've also been really only one video as well on the page. So your mileage of how good this game is going to be, what it's going to look like, what are the dynamics you're going to need to know, how are the expansions that they're inevitably going to offer, and somehow sum total this up to $300 or $400 going to change things? You have no idea. I mean, that's the big conundrum quagmire with Mordred that ran last year on Kickstarter, right? I think that game has oodles of potential Blood Rage style, but no one can frickin' tell because there's not enough information. So, like with Dune War for Arrakis, which I'm desperately scraping at the walls trying to find a copy of, high risk, high reward. And how do you feel about it from that side of things? Not good, all things considered. We're going to stay with that for a brief second because it sort of leads into a third issue with that. They announced on their Facebook page that they're canceling the CMON US Expo due to logistical reasons. Not saying it ties into any of that other stuff. I'm sure there's a very good reason, but it was scheduled to be in May and now it's not anymore. So take from that what you will. The other leading news from the other most recently acclaimed Earthborne Rangers, one of the lead designers over from Arkham Horror LCG and Fantasy Flight Games, is going over to Earthborne Rangers. Does that make you feel better about the future of that game? Does it make you feel really good considering it raised like 1.2 million and they can afford to hire a new designer? And that the open world campaign questing situation that doesn't pigeonhole you into one direction or the other, or a constructed deck in the first place, a la many of the others as they often do, a good thing? I mean, I think it has to be. Does it actually mean as much as you may want it to? Probably not. But it gives it some breadth and depth now that maybe you feel a little bit better about the pedigree in the future, so maybe that invests in the first place. But it's still arguably not going to change your mind if you're not a fan of those as well prior to that. Rumors of other expansions and content coming out soon, including supposedly the very near announcement of a third Res Arcana expansion. Now, upcoming in the next week or two, I'll have my Don't Buy It at Retail version, where I talk about a couple other engine builders, a la Veil of Eternity and Evenfall. But Res Arcana is the standard bearer. Now, I'm not going to say whether it's amazing, terrific, or super outstanding. You can pick one of those adjectives yourself. But it's sort of the benchmark for a lot of the engine build comparisons on the higher end of things now. And so to give it a third expansion is going to be highly, highly desired, but also highly scrutinized, just like with the Mage Knight Dragon Apocalypse Dragon expansion that we talked about last week, along the very similar lines. It's going to be potentially very polarizing if it's not what people really want. You know what I'm saying. And so, are you going to pick it up? Yes. Do you need it? No. Is it one of my favorite games of all time? Yes. So clearly my rating is going to be biased there, but hopefully it gives us more of the good stuff, sort of like the Veiled Fate expansion did this past week, if you saw that video. Again, I stand by that. 3 of those 4 expansion modules with the Veiled Fate expansion, wouldn't play without. Absolutely fantastic upgrade to that game. So the other game announcement, we'll skip over it. Oh, you know what? Let's stay with the expansion content here. Unfathomable. Remember that Battlestar Galactica spin-off or reskin with the Cthulhu at sea? Well, supposedly expansion contents are coming from FFG as well with that. And this isn't the last FFG announcement in this video. And we're getting that in the form of From the Abyss, a new expansion. You're submerged in deeper peril. Now, I'm literally, figuratively, you're going to be going submarine with this one. You're going to be rescuing passengers, granting you more access to other allies. 3 new monsters of horrors that are going to be assailing the ship, each more difficult to defeat than the last. New prelude cards to change the conditions at the start of the game, as well as more playable characters, skills, and items. So, I mean, is this going to be the expansion? Is this going to be the content that actually puts this game out to more people? I would make the argument that this game has kind of rather underachieved. It was incredibly hot when people finally said that you're going to get a Battlestar Galactica essentially remake, and then people kind of said there are elements I don't like about it. Now, again, haven't played it, so I can't tell you the exact comparisons, but that's been a little bit too much of everything I've heard along those lines. So again, I hate to say an expansion is unnecessary to make a game super great in the first place. There have definitely been those things, but are you willing to venture on this one as well for a 3 to 6 player game that is along the lines of Battlestar, right? The biggest problem with Battlestar is, well, it's the metagame. It's the metagaming. Who's the Cylon, right? And knowing the thematic incorporation is a little less important with this one, but it's the dynamic replayability that you really want to get out of it in the first place to get the full extent of it. And expansion or not, if you don't have that in spades, it's going to lead you to a little bit of trouble or an expensive, again, thing collecting dust on your shelves. Not like I know anything about that. Last FFG news, I think, at the time of filming this at least, they have now leaked or announced formally, I can't remember which, both, the upcoming characters for the individual character packs of Marvel Champions with the Age of Apocalypse, a big box expansion, because there's several individual character packs that are sold separately in addition to each cycle. We have Iceman, Nightcrawler, and Jubilee. I almost said Icecrawler there in the middle of that. And so does that intrigue you? Do you care? I mean, Iceman is the one that people are waiting for. You know, the other question was, are we still going to get a Magneto? You know, an Age of Apocalypse Magneto. And I don't know if that one's been answered yet at the time of me filming this. Leaks are abound. Go check the Reddit subforum for that and more details, because they have a lot of the stuff posted there. And you can kind of see, I mean, Jubilee is probably the most underrated one, but it'd be interesting if they can utilize her to the greater extent like the comic books have more recently with her powers being increased. So that is going on. Then we are having a new game from Hegemony. If you remember them, the game, from Hegemony, right? And so they're coming out with a new game called upcoming World Order, global simulation of the political system in an area control style, but it's supposed to be lighter than the original Hegemony. Again, that was my big problem with Hegemony, like as the first place, right? Like I don't have 3 or 4 hours to play this fantastically, wonderfully looking, heavy asymmetric game. And I think the idea of that is something I'd love, but this is more of a practical dad family style situation, right? With 1.5 to 2 hour playtime. Now, I, said it was Hegemony from Hegemonic Games. So drastic shift in the 2010s. You get to be the United States, People's Republic of China, Russian Federation, or the European Union. Diplomatic power, economic strength, military might. Blending, it says, academic theory and filling gameplay. Never before seen experience of international relations. So I think, again, they've got a type. They're sticking to it. And if they can put it out as well in the first place as Hegemony, well, people are going to like this one just as much too. I mean, it reminds me a little bit in the sense that it's very niche, but you get a niche that really loves you, it doesn't really matter as much how sizable it is, right? Chip Theory Games, Ivy Studios, also the other off-the-page games with Mind Management and Harrow County. You find your niche and you stick with it. And so this is going to be very similar now with an area control mechanic as well. So intriguing to see that. The other, more recently announced, Star Trek Star Realms, which begged the question, right? Why didn't they just call it Star Trek Realms? But you a fan of that deck building situation with the, 3 or 4 different factions, colors that you can use to buy from a secondary market to knock out your opponent? Head-to-head deck building, a take that style? Well, now you get to thematically incorporate it with your favorite Star Trek, I believe, The Next Generation characters and ships. So what is that going to look like, right? Now, this is in combination with UVS Games, spaceship combat deck building. So, I mean, obviously, Star Trek universe fits this very well. And it's going to be the first franchise collaboration, fully compatible, though, with the other games. So 2 to 4 players and available sometime in Q3. How it's going to be integratable and what makes it that much different. Is there really going to be a thematic incorporation that you care about? Is it really going to be that strong? I have no idea. Do you like Star Realms? Has it been eclipsed by other more recent, more prevalent deck builders? Or are you more of a classic person with something like Ascension? Because bum-ba-dum-ba-dum, look at that tie-in. Ascension is also getting a new one, Ascension Legends. And this is going over on Gamefound, actually, a crowdfunding with a new standalone expansion. It says, designed for newcomers and longtime fans. So you get a little bit of everything, including powerful constructs. There's almost 2,000 people following, and it says just coming sometime soon. So, again, speaking of Star Realms, Ascension, has it stayed the test of time? Is it doing stuff uniquely? People still love it. 1A to 1B to Dominion as one of the first really big out there sort of deck building games. I have no idea. No other information, though. No BoardGameGeek entry at the time of me filming this, so you're going to have to wait and see as well what Stoneblade Entertainment has in store for us as a whole. Then we're going back to the OP, whose smashing hit game Aqua is going to retail this month. And then we will be talking about a different thematic skin, like Unfathomable to Battlestar. Now we have Avatar to Harry Potter. Now, it's not the blue one, but it's the more popular one to go along with the Netflix series, The Last Airbender. And we are getting basically a Avatar version of Harry Potter Hogwarts Battles. How does that make you feel? Hogwarts Battles is a fantastic intro level game, but unlike the other deck builders, which we were just talking about, the main criticism was, especially in the base and the first expansion, there's no way to rotate the market. So you just get a crap market sometimes, and you just have to buy crap to fill up your deck, and you can't really trim your deck nearly that well because there's barely any cards to do that. And from a 2 to 4 player Avatar The Last Airbender, taking on the role of Aang and allies to defeat enemies as a cooperative side of things, you know, that's really going to appeal to some people for nostalgia purposes, just like the Netflix. But you got to actually put out a game that reflects that too, that is better than Harry Potter Hogwarts Battles. Like, I don't want just a reskin. You know, there's a lot of those other something Rising games, Star Wars, Marvel, Avatar, Batman, but they aren't terribly different. They aren't terribly unique, and they're all sort of juxtaposed on the same core mechanic. And so give me something useful here. Give me something, a little bit of a twist of something new, and make it really cool, please, because I'm a big fan. But I'm not just going to buy for the sake of IP buying nowadays either, regardless of how much I love the IP. I'm really trying not to. I'm not always doing the best, but it's something that we've got going on there as well. Speaking of IPs that I'm going to avoid, but would love to see an actual heavier board game with, well, One Piece is finally getting another board game in the form of Monopoly. So if you're a big One Piece fan, you can get a Monopoly version of it. However, if you're waiting for that One Piece cooperative dungeon crawl narrative campaign, boss battler, exceed, whatever, you're going to have to wait and wait. Because otherwise the only thing you're getting is chasing the TCG boxes, which are going somewhere up to hundreds of % over MSRP cost, because scalpers and collectors are buying them up and, you know, not actually utilizing them for the most part. So you may have to just wait and kind of see where that one goes as a whole. Now, the other leak, or the other upcoming news that you're going to hear probably more about soon, but does not yet again have a BoardGameGeek entry, from Dragoni Games. You may remember them from Arena or Tenaris Adventures. They've got a new upcoming game called Odalin. I'm probably mispronouncing that. But next dungeon crawl with an open world system. I mean, they were sort of branching out a little bit further in some of the inventiveness and the less battle slogging with Tenaris and Arena. So giving me more of an open world system. Okay, I'm willing to go out on a limb and give you the benefit of the doubt to see what you've got going on here. And again, the miniatures are top notch. So what do you got in store for us, Dragoni? That's going to be a really interesting test, because they have a well thought of pedigree. And the fact that they redid the miniatures after the first campaign really, you know, was a real benefit and endeared them to a lot of people. And so we'll kind of see what they've got in store for us. There's literally no other details. Dungeon crawl, twists, gameplay you've never seen before, all in extravagant setting, unique themes for those who are brave enough to face it on their website. So, Dragoni, I'm one of those people who's brave enough. Show me what you got. The other sort of potentially upcoming game that hasn't really been formally announced as well, I saw some rumblings and rumors on it online, of the upcoming Ludus Magnus game entitled Blood. That's all I know. So what else is going on? Well, a couple new, just a little things leaking out here towards the end of the news section. One, Shadowborne Games, Oathsworn, the designers of Oathsworn, with their upcoming one, the Avalon The Riven Veil game, publicly announced on the BoardGameGeek forums that they're signing up for public playtesting. So if you want to sign an NDA, you want to know a little bit about their upcoming game, and you want to have the free time to play something like that, they have a sign-up list over on the BoardGameGeek forums, and so you can check it out from that aspect of things. So if you're intrigued at all from the area control side of things from them, give it a look-see. The other little tidbit that just got announced as well, Ravensburger, obviously Star Wars and Villainous, very big properties on both accounts. They just announced the latest expansion, Revenge at Last, featuring two characters you're probably familiar with, one much more notorious than the other. Well, you're finally getting to play as Darth Maul. How is that going to work in a Star Wars Villainous game? Darth Maul just double blading everything, and then also Captain Phasma. Now, they speak to a little bit of the mechanics in the BoardGameGeek page. Villains ambitioned from actions based on power effects, with the villain's use of the Force for Darth Maul, and maybe you're going to get some specific missions and iconic ships to be able to travel all over Star Wars galaxy. I have no clue what that means, but you can mix and match with the other 2 or 3 expansions or games that go along with the Star Wars side of things. So is this one going to be the one that brings you in? Is it going to change your mind? Probably not, but I like Villainous just as a light style filler. So that's going to be the other thing that was sort of trickling out. And then the last one was that the Fox experiment from Pandasaurus coming back to crowdfunding. Interestingly enough, we have another port over to Gamefound. The preview page is actually over on Gamefound. That's not really where I'm going with this, though, is they're offering a deluxe edition. Wooden deluxe edition. So not really sure what that entails, because there was some wooden meeples to go along with the original one. So what other sort of wooden upgrades? Is it going to be just a straight reprint? Like, it doesn't seem like it based on the announcement and the page, but not a whole lot of details either at the time of me filming this. So do you like that game. I think it was a little divisive in the theme, and it was a little divisive in the mechanics. Like, some people really liked it, and some people really didn't. So, again, not having played it or tried it out, I have no freaking clue. But it wasn't one of those that I was like super interested in deluxifying. So if you were, and you were one of those people, well, I mean, you might even be able to deluxify it even further. So bling your bling and get your bling blinged. So what's upcoming then this week on the crowdfunding side of things? A couple bigger name projects, but ones maybe that you weren't as aware of either. So first up, we actually have the next in the cooperative side of things. Cooperative, actually, from Ludus Magnus. Requiem, the Downfall of Magic. More of a scenario-based campaign game from them in a cooperative sense where you're contributing and helping each other. And all of their other games previously to this point have been mostly competitive. So what sort of twist are you going to see in that aspect? They just finished with their Black Wars Rebirth second campaign over on Gamefound. So we're going to see hot on that heels what they've got in store for us. They also say it's going to be an adventure-based game based in the 1500s of Europe, asymmetrical characters, crossroads, and performing territories and actions. So choices, successes, decisions, more of your narrative, choose your own adventure style with card-driven gameplay. Now, 60 to 90 minutes for the actual session-based is kind of a nice wait. So if it's more akin to this, show me what you got. Now, I'm hoping more action-based in this rather than just pure narrative. So we'll see. I may or may not be getting a prototype at some point during the campaign, so I might be able to give you a little bit more hands-on. Then the next one up, speaking of that, I might also similarly get one during the campaign as well, is River Valley Glassworks from Allplay. Their next big one, I believe it's just launching by itself, actually, just like with Sakura Slam. So we're going to see what this does is sort of an action tableau, pulling glass out of the river, right? And making sort of a set collection Azul style. So I think this is, potentially an under-the-radar hit. I think if it's anything like a lot of the other stuff they've put out, it's going to be solid. It's not going to be mass market-wide appeal, but it's going to be very good for what it is. And so they're going to offer you a deluxified edition, I believe, with some upgrades as well as playmats. And probably, again, just if you're one of those basic people like me, you just want a little bit of extra content to make it your money's worth, and they'll probably suit your needs well from that fancy in addition. And then we also have, again, potentially having another prototype on my way. So like, I'm going to be super swamped in the next 3 weeks between all these prototypes of the ones I'm getting and the ones I'm going to have at some point is Reign of Hades. 2 of the 3 of these being some of the most interesting ones for me of the whole month as a whole. And this is taking a different spin on the head-to-head battler, but potentially up to a 2 versus 2 style as well. And this takes more of a spin on the Greek mythology where you're trying to reclaim your position. Now it says it's going to be combining Euro as well as Amerithrash mechanics, and giving you a dungeon crawl genre where they're actually trying to minimize luck and giving you complete control of the fate of your own gods as you go through the underworld, encountering challenges, obstacles, decision-making, collaborative, teamwork, novel grid dice system approach to enhance your attacks to, basically allow you to get more, strategic as you're going along. Interacting with the game, playing cards based on your card slots, character development, and the core gameplay loop of teams of 2 with a 3-player variant, as well as solo if you're one of those. Again, the only thing I have to say is it's probably going to be a little bit pricier with it's going to be a miniature side of things, but I'm intrigued because this one has really high ceiling written all over it. When you've got the designer with Legend Crafters here with other games that you may have heard from Mind Clash and their pedigree. So that one's going to be launching in addition to Super Boss Monster. And that's obviously from Brotherwise, who did the original. Now they're bringing us an upgraded version. The next gen 1 to 4 player side-scrolling dungeon creator with, trapping helpless adventurers and trying to stop them as a whole. So random room draws are replaced, though, in this one with a drafting mechanism and overflowing into locations where you can nab the heroes as opposed to just them randomly showing up in town with your now newly minted minion Meeple, right? That's a little bit of a tongue twister there. And it gives you a long-awaited, it says, single-player mode. Players are going to be trying to lure as many heroes as you can in that way. 100% backwards compatible if you have the previous stuff, and it's also standalone. So how do you feel about that? New one there from Brotherwise as well. So then what's been on the hotness now? What's been going on? Well, very similar to last week, right? I covered in the news roundup Mage Knight, the Apocalypse Dragon, the expansion. It's getting tons of clicks. People are super interested in it. Mage Knight is a huge popular name. This is no less interesting. Star Wars Unlimited, Spark of Rebellion. Your boy, shortly after filming this, is actually going to be doing his, I'm very nervous about this, unboxing, unpacking, pulling, right? And I guarantee I'm going to get bad stuff. And so you can watch my disappointment live. Well, not live, but on the video when it goes live. And so that's going to be another one in the lines of those things, because there's another video that sort of does something similar with big box Kickstarters that you'll see in this upcoming week as well. Let's Go to Japan, though, is being delivered and being relatively well received. I don't think people are saying it's like an outstanding smash 'em, top game of the year, but people are liking it for what it is. And it's on my trade list. I'd like to trade for it at some point and get a copy. So then we have Roth, which we covered yesterday on the roundup, and that's success so far, getting $250,000 on crowdfunding in the first less than week. And the Manny Tremblay non-chip theory game. I mean, that's not my words. Those are people in the comment section. I don't know. This isn't our standard chip theory game. I don't know if I can like it. You don't have to like it. These folks act like they have this parasocial, parasitic relationship sometimes with these companies, saying, well, this game isn't in line with what I think your company should put out. Who cares what you think? They think enough of it. That's all that matters. And it's doing well. And it's an hour or less area control game. I'm sorry if it doesn't have the depth or the strategic over-complexity of something like Rising Sun. Deal with it. Get over yourself. Earthborne Rangers, Dune Imperium, Dune War for Arrakis. Seventh Citadel is being delivered as well. And your Veiled Fates are popping up. And then a new game under the line of Osprey from Paolo Maiori is Battalion War of the Ancients. Not a whole lot of details. A remake of one of their other pocket-style army war games, I believe. That's going to be using interlocking cards or pieces to represent your troops. And I believe I've seen that in one or two other games that they were mentioning as well when I covered it in the past. And then Veil of Eternity, which I reviewed this past week as well. Check out my 3-in-1 video. If you missed that, I'll throw the link in above and you can click it. And again, here at the end, you know what? You should be going over to my BoardGameGeek blog and seeing if we can get me hot, right? I want to mess with the algorithm. Please go over there and click, give it a thumb, give it a like on YouTube. Let's see if we can get me on the front page. I've never been on the front page. I think they ignore people like me, right? It's mostly the sponsored stuff and occasionally just the random stuff. So I don't know. I'd like to upset the apple cart a little bit. So if you dare, please do that. That would be awesome too. I have a Patreon, and that's mainly where my money went for them this past month with the Star Wars Unlimited. I can't not do it. So I have my top 10 updated releases coming on 2024 still earlier this week. Next week, we'll also have my upcoming updated top 10 crowdfunding campaigns still to come this year. And that list has changed because now we've seen a lot of big ones since the beginning of the year. And a lot of these ones that will be on this list were not necessarily on the list at the beginning of the year just because they weren't announced or because there was no date or because there was nothing definitive whatsoever. Senko Cushion, I'm waiting for you, baby. Waiting for you. I'm waiting for you. Kind of like Seventh Cross. Anyway, no, I hope not. I hope not, though. I hope not in all seriousness. So that's what I've got going on. And I'm going to be playing some Bite Wings this weekend. I got Cat Blues and Bebop from them. I got Dying Light. That is my weekend right there in a nutshell. So, yep, pretty much. That's all I got. Those are my prompts. Subscribe if you made it this far. I never remember to say that at the beginning, right? I always feel guilty and weird about saying it like a shill, but apparently it works. I don't know. I say that every week, though. I don't know if it works or not. Who cares? I'm creeping. Yep, I went there. I said it. I don't know why it came out like that, though. So, just trying to sell some games still. Selling some of my bigger boxes that I'm trying to get rid of. And just selling them for under prices that are out there in the first place and still not getting some bites. So I don't know what I'm going to have to do. So hit me up. Hit me up with the emails if you want to buy some big box crowdfunding campaign boxes that I'm having regrets about or that I'm looking to get rid of. I don't care. I'll do it that way too. Or you know what? Should I just make a video of saying, here, games I'm selling, listing the prices, email me, right? What about that video? Would you guys buy it like that? Would you guys be interested in that? Like, I don't know. Don't see that done very often. Someone texted me and was like, hey, have you seen the Facebook group Board Game Waffles? Because you can't use the word raffle on Facebook because that's illegal. So they just get around it by just calling it something else. And like, so let's say your game is valued at $300. They allow you to basically sell 10 $30 tickets and go in and do a live video on Facebook with the winner. And so you can sell it that way. And I don't know, that seems tempting. But like, it also just seems ripe for disaster as well. So I'm a little trepidatious. I'm not comfortable doing something like that. I'd rather sit on it and take longer to sell it, I think, even though maybe you could get, people to buy in. Would you take a shot at buying Voidfall, $250 game for $25? 10 people doing that? What do you think? Should I do that on this channel? Just go live someday? Give it to my, Patreons if they want a discount? I don't have a freaking clue. Tell me what you want to see. That's all I got. I'm rambling at the end here. Like usual, that's why you tune in. That's why you love it in the first place. Stay classy. Have a great freaking day.